Opening words for the service, inspired by the court case Loving v. Virginia. Today, we gather in the spirit of love, love that transcends boundaries, challenges injustice, and affirms the dignity of all people. 57 years ago, on June 12, 1967, the United States Supreme Court delivered a unanimous ruling in the court case Loving v. Virginia, striking down bans on interracial marriage. At the heart of this case was Mildred and Richard Loving, a Black woman and a white man who had been arrested in their home for the simple fact of being married. They were told that their love was illegal, that their union was a crime. But love, real, courageous, steadfast love, will not be outlawed. The Lovings fought, not for fame or politics, but simply for the right to be together, to build a life in the fullness of their love. And in doing so, they changed the legal and moral landscape of this country, affirming that love is not something to be regulated, restricted, or refused. It is a fundamental human right. As we open this service, let us reflect on their story, not as history alone, but as a living call to action. Their fight was not just about marriage. It was a dismantling systemic systems of oppression, expanding the circle of inclusion, and recognizing the humanity in every relationship, in every person. Today, we speak of love as religion. Let us remember, love is not passive. It is not just a sentiment. It is courageous, transformative, and sometimes defiant in the face of injustice. Let us honor the Lovings and all those who have fought to make love visible, free, and recognized in all its forms. Let us ask ourselves, how will we love boldly today? May this service be a reminder of the deepest truths of our faith, of our community, and the world, that the power of love, not just as an emotion, but as a radical, world-changing force.
All right, so here I'll be speaking about love as religion. My religion is love. Be certain that in the religion of love, there are no believers or unbelievers. Love embraces all, wrote the Sufi mystic Rumi. In Buddhism, we are told, hatred does not cease by hatred, but only by love. This is an eternal law. Sikhism teaches, she whose heart is full of love is ever in full bloom. And Confucius reminds us to love the whole expanse of things and make an intimate of humanity. Every tradition calls for love for one another, for the world, between friends and enemies, neighbors and strangers, parents, siblings, and children. Love transcends differences and unites us in something greater than ourselves. If that does not speak to the universality of love, perhaps we can find its wisdom in a contemporary, perhaps unexpected example. Take Winnie the Pooh and the 100-Acre Wood. A series of children's tales, yes, but one that holds profound truths for all ages, truths that remain relevant today. The animals in the 100-Acre Wood are not always good friends to one another. Many of their adventures focus on their conflicts. Rabbit is bossy. Owl is rather pretentious. Tigger can be overwhelming. And Eeyore is caught in the heaviness of his own gloom. They may not seem like ideal companions, but their imperfections make them profoundly human. At some point, all of us are hard to deal with. We are annoying, we make mistakes, we push others away, and yet, in the 100-Acre Wood, the friendships endure. They love each other, flaws and all. When Eeyore's house is blown down by the wind, his friends rebuild it without question. When he is sad, they do not demand that he cheer up. They simply sit with him in silence. They all make plans, some better than others, to help Pooh get his beloved honey. Rabbit becomes so annoyed with Tigger's bouncing that he even plots to stop it entirely. But when he sees how sad Tigger becomes, he relents, realizing that the Tigger he loves is the one who bounces. Each of these moments reveals the heart of love, seeing another for who they truly are and choosing them anyway. Rabbit loves Tigger and wants him to be his authentic self. Piglet and Pooh love Eeyore, even through his pessimism, because they recognize that it is a part of him. They do not ask Eeyore to change or Owl to stop talking. Through love, they accept one another fully and overcome challenges together. And then there is Kanga, the mother of the 100-Acre Wood. Kanga loves Roo fiercely and unconditionally, but her love does not stop with her child. It expands outward. She shows kindness, patience, and understanding in the face of suspicion and distrust, proving that love is bigger than fear. Love expands. It does not close itself off to outsiders or retreat into suspicion. It makes room. It grows. It welcomes. This dynamic is not unique to the 100-Acre Wood. It is the reality of every community, family, congregation, and society. Love is what allows people of different personalities and perspectives to navigate conflict and remain whole. It is what makes belonging possible, not just within the church, but in communities, families, and the world. Far from the 100-Acre Wood, there are examples in our own backyard of love overcoming seemingly impossible challenges. One such example is the aptly named Loving Decision, a poignant display of accidental activism that reminds us of love's power to reshape the world. In 1958, Richard Loving and Mildred Jeter were two ordinary people who did an extraordinary thing. They loved each other. Their love crossed racial lines at a time when the law itself tried to keep them apart. When they married, they weren't trying to be activists or revolutionaries. They weren't seeking a legal battle or a place in history. They simply wanted what so many of us want: to build a life together, to wake up next to the person they love, to share a home, to create a family. But in Virginia, and in 15 other states at the time, their marriage was illegal. Because of who they loved, they were arrested in their own home. The Lovings were given a choice: leave their home, their families, their community, or go to prison. They were forced to leave Virginia, banished from the place where they had planned to live their lives together. But love will not be exiled. Their case made its way to the Supreme Court, where, in 1967, the justices ruled unanimously that laws banning interracial marriage were unconstitutional. The decision did not just change their lives, it changed the lives of millions. It is the reason many of us are able to love freely today. For those of us in interracial relationships, this is not just history. It is the reason we do not have to ask for permission to hold the hand of the one we love. Imagine a world where the law told you that the person you love is off limits, that you cannot share a last name, build a home together, or walk side by side without judgment. That world was not so long ago, and in many ways, it still exists. In stares, in whispers, in unspoken barriers, in families that disapprove, in places where love remains a radical act of defiance. I know this personally. I stand here today, engaged to someone who, in another time, another state, another life, I could not have married. I do not take that for granted. The loving decision was a victory, but we cannot assume the battle was won forever. We must still love courageously, just as they did. We cannot take love's victories for granted. The Lovings did not set out to be activists. They set out to love one another, and yet their love was enough to shake the highest court in the land. That is the power of love, not as a passive emotion, but as a force capable of breaking down walls and reshaping laws. It may be evident why that decision is still relevant to me today, but the rest of you may be wondering why we are discussing Winnie the Pooh and the loving decision in the same breath. The answer is simple. These are both examples of love being the best way to enact change. Fundamentally, it is our religion. We are called upon to love both inside and outside of these walls. Minds, souls, and hearts are not changed by hate. You cannot out-hate someone into seeing your point of view. We know the power of being in a community that values love. Research has shown that facts alone do not change minds. Change happens through connection, and that connection happens through love that makes itself seen and felt, through the undeniable reality that we are all worthy of belonging. There is too much hate in this world, and the only thing that will fix that is love. But love is not easy. It is not always soft or sentimental. It is often difficult. It is often uncomfortable. It is often courageous. Loving courageously is not a thing of the past. It is something we must still do today, especially in the face of what is happening in our world. Fear and division still try to dictate who is worthy of love, who belongs, who gets to be seen, who is allowed to simply exist without question. Love is still radical. Love is still risky. Love is still resisted. We see it in the continued struggles for racial justice and attacks on LGBTQ+ rights, in the treatment of immigrants and refugees, in the rise of rhetoric that seeks to divide rather than unite us. We are still being called to love in defiance of hate, to love in ways that make us uncomfortable, to love in ways that demand something of us, to love not just in our hearts, but in our actions. So as we leave today, I ask you to reflect on these questions, which we will continue in our talkback. What does it mean to love courageously in this moment? Who do you struggle to love, and what would it mean to try? How can we, as a community, make love a visible, undeniable force in the world around us? What is one act of love, small or large, that you can commit to this week? Love is more than just a feeling. It's a way of showing up, even when it's hard, even when we don't feel like it. That's what makes it real. And we must choose it, not just when it is easy, but especially when it is hard. May we be people of courageous love. May we be bold in our compassion. And may we go forward, not just speaking of love, but living it. Thank you.
The transformative power of love. As we prepare to go forth from this place, let us hold close the profound truth expressed by Lao Tzu. Being deeply loved by someone gives you strength, while loving someone deeply gives you courage. Love is not just a feeling, it is a force, a foundation, a lifeline. It gives us the strength to endure and the courage to change. We have seen this power in history, in relationships, and in our own hearts. Love is what allows us to be vulnerable, to heal, to transform. It is what enables a struggling soul to reach out in the darkest moments and find not judgment, but safe harbor. It is the embrace that reminds us that we are worthy, the voice that calls us back to ourselves when we feel lost. Too often, we are told that change comes through guilt, shame, or fear. But as William Miller reminds us, such forces can paralyze rather than inspire. Real transformation, the kind that lifts people from despair, that repairs what is broken, comes not through coercion, but through compassion. Not through correction, but through connection. Love is not passive. It does not wait idly by for change to come. It steps forward. It reaches out a hand to those who feel that as if the world is collapsing, as if the ocean will surely swallow them whole. Love is what whispers, "You are not alone." So let us go forward from this sacred place with this charge, to be the presence of love in the lives of others, to offer hope where there is pain, to choose connection over condemnation, to choose kindness over correction. Love is the most powerful instrument of change. It transforms not only those who receive it, but those who give it. And as Mahatma Gandhi so wisely said, "Where there is love, there is life." May we live fully in that truth today and always.